This is Scott Wyden Kivowitz, and you are listening to From Nothing to Profit.
Welcome to From Nothing to Profit, a photographer's podcast with Matt and Kaya, where each week they talk to photographers about what is working in their business now so you can swipe those ideas and grow your business faster.
Welcome to From Nothing to Profit, hosted by Matt Hoagland and Kaya Bondurant. We are so excited to welcome Scott Wyden Kivowitz today. And here we go.
Scott is a father, photographer, blogger, and educator from New Jersey, a storyteller with a camera. Growing up, he was always photographed by his parents and his grandparents. While playing in bands, he started photographing bands that played at the same event. He decided years ago to document the lives of others so that they could enjoy and be cherished forever. Scott offers family portraits, cake smash sessions, headshots, and personal brand photography to his local clients. He's also the chief community officer at Imagely, the photo press photography people. He's also the chief community officer at Imagely, the WordPress photography people. So welcome, Scott.
Thanks for having me.
So is there anything else after reading your bio that we kind of missed about you that you wanted to include? I mean, do you want to say a little bit more about Imagely or anything like that?
Sure. So I'm a part-time professional photographer. I decided years ago to not go full-time with it for various reasons, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I do work full-time for Imagely. Imagely makes plugins and themes for photographers, turnkey sites for photographers, things like that. Basically, we're just we call ourselves the WordPress photography people for a reason. We are just anything that a photographer needs in WordPress. That is what we are aimed to deliver for them. So that's pretty much everything in a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I met you from some Facebook groups that we're in together, and right. You've been such a valuable resource to all of us because I know you really have your pulse. You really have the pulse of the industry for sure. So
thanks. Yeah.
And I'm excited, Scott, because we've never met. And whenever I looked through your website and looked at all your different interests, and I think you have such a variety of knowledge that I think you're going to have a lot to share with us. So my first question for you is share something we don't know about your area of expertise that as a photographer, we probably should.
So I'm starting to shift, as kind of mentioned, I'm starting to shift a lot of my business to personal brand photography. Okay. This is something that is definitely becoming more popular in the industry. It's still probably one of the least popular genres of photography, but it's definitely growing. And I think one thing that people need to realize if they're considering the switch or if they just are learning about personal brand photography is that there's actually the potential for a personal brand photographer to make the same salary or more than a wedding photographer. And there's actually a lot less time away from the family, and you gain your weekends back. You don't have to do your sessions on weekends because a lot of the people that you'll be photographing for personal brand photography are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs that can do it whenever they want. So
it's probably better for them to do it during the weekdays, really.
Oh, yeah. I mean, depending on what they do, if they're if they're like a personal chef who does a lot of corporate, events where they're doing lunches and stuff, then obviously, that time is not going to work for them. But for the most part, they have the flexibility to really do it when they want, which is a beautiful thing. So you're talking you can make a really good salary, a lot of money with all of your time back to see your family and your weekends back. That's three big wins that a lot of people don't realize.
So real quick, kind of explain how do you see the difference between like personal brand photography and just like headshots? I mean, because I know there's some overlap there, but do you see there's a difference between the two?
Oh yeah. So headshots, you're basically literally just doing headshots, whether it's on location or in studio. Personal brand photography is you're spending an entire day or two or whatever your contract is with your client, and you're doing full body shots, you're doing headshots, you're doing lifestyle shots, you're doing potentially studio shots if you have a studio. You're doing it more than just shoulder up your typical headshot. You're also delivering more. You're giving them like depending on whatever the contract is that you do, you could be doing a month worth of photos for this person. You could be doing quarters worth of photos for this person. instead of a headshot where you're delivering 1 or 2 headshots to the person. And you're also delivering the photos for every social media channel that they utilize. You're basically delivering them a product that is going to be easy for them to use across every channel that they need, with a license that covers that aspect. So they don't have to worry about any legality issues, and you don't have to worry about suing them for any reason. Everything's like, laid out. There's no real gray areas.
It's always good to figure out ways to not sue your clients for sure, isn't it? So Scott, when I was looking through your website to get to know you better, that really intrigued me. Your personal branding, like what you talked about. And so it looks to me, because when I think about personal branding, I think, oh, bloggers who want you to do it for free and they'll put, your name on their site. But I noticed that you did a lot of really good education on that. And so where did that come from? Like, because I haven't really seen that much. Like you said, it's something that people don't really know. Yeah. So where did all that whole concept start?
So I've known about this for a long time, but I didn't think it was going to be a genre in photography until Jamie Swanson really started teaching about it. And I had a lot of great conversations with Jamie, and I learned a lot from her just in that little bit of time of talking with her, different conversations. And, she's got a whole video series on it, and she's got a course on it. She has a Facebook group all about it. But there's also people who have been doing it for a long time. So I just did a lot of research. I just Googled the heck out of it and came up with some content that I think would connect with the potential clients. And yes, I mean, so far so good. It's when you think about it, if you're someone who's been doing family portraits and you've been doing headshots and you've been doing things like that, you've already been doing personal brand photography. You've already been doing it.
Yeah, for years with specific clients. I tell them, we're going to do this for your business and we're going to do this. And
yeah. So it's the mindset. The artistic side of it is the same. It's the business side. It's the business mindset part that's a little bit different when you say, okay, this is personal brand photography. So the contracts are completely different than every other type of contract. I don't have to worry about in-person sales. I don't have to worry about selling prints. It's not really shoot and burn. It's
shoot and post.
Tailored. Yeah. It's strategic for the business person, which is kind of funny because you're being strategic to a person who's also being strategic in their own business. So it's just a good match if you find people who get the value of personal brand photography to somebody who understands, a photographer who understands the value of it and how to deliver it. It's just a perfect situation, perfect match. So.
Well, and I think in the industry, we've known this is coming for a while, because our industry is one of the cutting edge industries in terms of like using social media and branding ourselves that way. And so I think we knew it was coming. It was just like, in some aspects, we had to wrap our head around how to do this. And then we also had to wait for the rest of the world to realize how big branding on the internet was going to be. Yeah. So now they realize that they need these branding type sessions to support what they're trying to do. So it's really cool. I really think it's starting to finally like come together on all avenues. And it's a awesome thing that somebody could add to their business and just run with it for sure.
I think, and I have to give a lot of credit to Jamie Swanson because she sort of kicked my butt into that direction. So that transition's still happening. It's not like I'm finalized and now I'm a personal brand photographer. The transition's underway. I'm building that side of my business now. And hopefully eventually I can get rid of the other stuff.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well,
are you done with the cake?
What was it?
I just was like, oh, you were trading out the personal branding for the cake smashes. I was just teasing. So before we finish from that, because I feel like the name of this is From Nothing to Profit. And Scott, what you're doing is taking nothing, because that's not something that you've been specifically doing, and turning it into profit. So I just have a question on it. I saw that your pricing structure is like a package.
Correct.
And so, I assumed it was a package because you asked a question like, are you willing to spend, this certain amount of money? And so I assumed it was a package. Is your ideal client someone who would you would like set up a like subscription or something where they come, every 3 months or something like that?
Correct. Well, So I have 3 different packages. One is an a la carte, but it still starts at $2,000. And
starts at 1,000 or 2,000.
It starts at 2,000. It's a one-off personal brand photography session, a one-day session, and basically I have quarterly packages that save you money and give you more.
Okay.
And so that's just the way that I decided to structure it off the bat.
I think it's a great idea.
Though, because I am starting that side of my business from nothing, I did offer for a couple people promo pricing for a month's worth of images for $500, and I've got those booked, and I'm just waiting for them to fill out the questionnaire and actually do the session.
Fun. So we'll be able to follow that. Will you put that on your blog or?
Oh, of course, yeah, that'll be. I'm hoping to do. I do a lot of YouTube education as well, like for photographers. So I do a lot of YouTube videos, and I'm hoping to document that whole behind the scenes of it and everything for YouTube as well. So.
Very cool. Very cool.
That is very cool. Okay, so let me move on to the next question, and we may not be moving on very far, but the next question we always ask is kind of what's working now, and we kind of talked about it. I don't know if there's anything else in particular you wanted to talk about what's working now in our industry, or if that's kind of what you were thinking.
Yeah, so what's been working for me at least for my business in general is that I rely heavily on lead generation through my website and from word of mouth from existing clients. So I built a system on my site, which I now teach to photographers as well. And the system that I built generates about 10 leads a week on average between cake smashes, families, headshots, and everything. And I take the clients that I can, that ones that I feel that are a good fit. Again, I'm a part-time professional. I only have so much time because I do have a full-time job. So I take what's a good fit and I'll take those on. And then I'll actually refer the other leads to other photographers in the area, which means a lot of photographers in the area are getting people that I've been putting the effort in to get. But that's fine. And
making friends, I bet.
Right.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, it's really interesting. It's like, here, let me do a bunch of work to get somebody to raise their hand and be interested in photography, and then I'll hand them to you. And
yeah,
you should never have to buy a drink in your town ever again.
Yeah, that's for sure. So now that I'm actually shifting my business to personal brand photography, or trying to, I'm rebuilding my lead generation system for the new genre, and I'm building up a new client base, of course. So that's all, from nothing to profit. So lead generation, it's being strategic about it, not just, hey, let's have a conversation. That's not going to do it. You have to really be strategic from top to bottom about the entire process, using a well thought out lead magnet, tying that into the rest of your site, promoting the heck out of it in various ways. There's a whole lot you can do.
That's awesome. So do you want to give one specific example? I don't want you to give away everything because I know you have a lot of information on your site and stuff, but one specific example that you think is like working really well, whether it's a lead magnet that's working well or one part of the process that's working.
So what I can tell you is for families, what I've done is I've created a lead magnet that is offering preparation advice for families. And sometimes I've done this where it's a download, but what I've done more recently is I've converted it to an actual page that's hidden from search engines and whatnot. So people can't just find it. They'd have to know exactly where to look in order to find it. So
they have to opt in to see it, right?
Yeah, they have to opt in. They give me their email address, and once they give me their email address, they are then sent to this new page where they can see all this information about preparing for their family session. And then they're also sent into a whole automation campaign where I can now nurture that lead further with more education. So I'm now emailing them on a regular basis for about 2 weeks about various things. And then at the end of that, they get a very light pitch to have a conversation about the family session. So it's that's a very summed up version of the system, but there's definitely a lot more that goes into it than just that.
That's good, though, because
that's really awesome.
Well, what I was going to say is I think that's good because not everyone understands what that is, even though they've probably opted into how many lead generation systems themselves. Not everyone really knows what it is or that people can use it to apply it to photography. Yeah.
Is it all right if I share a little bit about the course that I?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So a lot of people ask me about this. And so I did a couple webinars on it, and then people wanted more. So I put together a course called More Leads, More Clients. If you go to my website and click on photographers and then courses, you'll see that there's that course is there. More Leads, More Clients goes into, it's a one-time fee, and it goes deep into the entire strategy from top to bottom, a bunch of what I call one-offs, different ways to promote your lead magnet and to get leads in other ways. And again, all tied together though. And I even give examples for different genres of photography of what could your lead magnet be. So I actually give you real world examples of what it could be. And so I'm kind of trying to help make the content easier to generate for all the students. So, and there's a lot more in the course, but you can go to the course landing page to learn a lot about it. So.
Yeah, awesome. And we'll link that in the show notes for sure, so people can just click right out of the bottom of the show notes and go straight there as well. Right. So that's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that stuff. Let's take a break real quick, and we'll come right back and we'll talk about what you're fired up about in the industry, and we'll do some lightning round questions as well.
All right.
Hey, everyone. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You look at your calendar and notice you need clients now. So you do a little marketing and get some phone calls. You get busy helping those new clients. They schedule sessions, they place orders, and life is good. But once they're done, your calendar is empty again. The reason is you didn't have time to market while you were busy. Sometimes your business feels like a roller coaster. And let me tell you something, it is. And believe me, you're not alone. Photographers everywhere have the same problem. But I have some great news. Matt's business, Allison Ragsdale Photography, after years of trial and error, has cracked the code. It works so well, he's created a new class all about it. It's called Get Clients Now, a dead, simple approach to getting photography clients. Everyone at From Nothing to Profit is excited to share this info with you because this system helped Matt and Allison book hundreds of clients this year at their studio. And the best part about this system is that it's simple to set up and it works while you're sleeping. No hard selling or creepy marketing. All you have to do is help your clients answer their most pressing questions. Clients love the system and say it is the #1 reason they book with Matt and Allison. If you're interested in learning more about this system, go to photopodcast.co/simple. Matt has created a short free video that introduces this system. If you like what you hear, podcaster listeners get an exclusive discount on the full class. So make sure you go to photopodcast.co/simple. and sign up for the free video. It will help you book more clients now and create the business you've always wanted.
Okay, folks, we're back with From Nothing to Profit, and we're talking to Scott Wyden Kivowitz today. My next question for you, Scott, is what is the one thing you are most fired up about in our industry today?
So we've been talking a lot about personal brand photography, so I'm going to sort of stick with that.
Okay.
As the world evolves and these new areas come up that are ripe for photographers, like personal brand photography, for example. It's just amazing. Think about it. There's influencers popping up all around the world every day on every topic that you can think of.
Uh-huh.
And there are more and more people who need photographs to help grow their reach, their brands, even if they're not a solopreneur, even if they're a small group, you can still do personal brand photography for them. So there's entirely new markets all over the place. Some that probably haven't been discovered yet. Some that someone somewhere in the middle of nowhere has discovered, but just hasn't talked about it publicly yet. So I'm excited because every so often the industry kind of flatlines in a way, not just financially, not just customer wise, but just the excitement flatlines for a little bit. And then something happens that just sparks new excitement. And another good example of this is a few years ago when Sony announced their full frame mirrorless. The whole industry was like, whoa, it was something as stupid as a camera, brought a heartbeat back to the photo industry. Like it's not like the industry was plummeting, but it's just there wasn't the excitement kind of flatlines every so often. So I'm excited because there's this new genre of photography that is pumping the heartbeat, and there's going to be another one coming, who knows when, that will do it again. And I think that is so exciting when you see new things come up.
Well, when you think about personal branding, And when I was reading on your site about it, I thought, well, we're already doing this for our high school seniors. We bring them in multiple times throughout the year. We do seasonal pictures for them because we know that although they may purchase specifically from one single senior, air quotes, portrait session, they want pictures all year long to put on their social media. And so if we're the ones that provide it, then they will purchase senior pictures from us. And so if you think about it, rather than having wedding, senior portraits, baby pictures, cake smashes, like single moments, you could turn anyone and everyone into a client on a like a subscription monthly, yearly basis. And so the possible clientele for portraits, not senior portraits, but just portraits in general, when you talk about personal branding, is limitless.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's literally anybody. Like even the people, what are those called? PLMs, the people that are selling the oils and the handbags and
yes, yeah,
all that. They are people who have personal brands, because without them promoting themselves, they're not going to sell their products, because they can go next door to the person in the next neighborhood that's also selling the product. You know, people can go. Mm-hmm. So there's photographers, solo photographers are people who would be perfect for personal brand photography.
Yeah, let me give you a couple examples that we've done in our business. So you brought up the like multi-level marketing people, and we've helped a lady that is doing skincare, multi-level marketing. She's super successful now. We've been helping her build her personal brand through pictures, like family pictures every fall, and then headshots and stuff every year for the last couple of years. And she's doing really well. She's speaking on their national stage. I think they were like in Orlando. No, they're in New Orleans this year. And so it was awesome. Uh-huh. We were able to do even more stuff for her from stage, where she had like they made a cut. It was hilarious. They made a cutout of her, like a life-size cutout that you would see, like you used to see like at Blockbuster. So we did that. Uh-huh. It was like, I was so proud. Like, I was like, I finally got someone to make a cutout of one of my pictures. It was so awesome. So anyway, so we did that, which is pretty cool.
Goals, so, #goals.
Yeah, Matt. Really. And then two other things that came up we have two former seniors that have started getting into personal brand stuff. So one of them is in the workout space. So he's coaching people how to work out and be healthier and stuff like that. And then we have another girl that was one of our seniors, and she's doing more like how to work a side hustle kind of thing. And so like, while you're going to school and you're have a full-time job, how can you supplement that with a side hustle and stuff? And it's been awesome to see them grow their brand. So not only do you see, the opportunity with everybody that's already out there, but then, it seems like every year there's going to be a new group of people coming up that, are become 20 years old and they want their own personal brand as well. So it's just, I think, endlessness.
And you know what? Shark Tank, the TV show Shark Tank, just came back for its whatever season it is, 6th season or 10 season. I don't know what season it is.
Yeah.
And they're, what they're pushing right now? They're pushing for anybody who's 13 and up to come on the show. They're pushing it hard.
Yeah.
They actually had a call to action at the end of the show for anybody 13 and up to reach out to them on Twitter with a hashtag. And they want to get these kids to start thinking like entrepreneurs, to start inventing, to start doing something. And that is only going to help everything that you just talked about even more.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting.
My 13-year-old son will talk to me on our way to his soccer practices and say, okay, Mom, so most people when they start businesses, and he's watching all these YouTube videos on how to make money. And so I'm sure they're out there, lots of them.
Oh yeah.
That's really awesome.
Fun.
Okay, so let's move on to the lightning round real quick.
Okay.
Hopefully there'll be some really awesome nuggets in here. My favorite one that's coming up is recommending any books or anything, but we'll get to that in a second. So the first question is, when you first started, Scott, what was holding you back from becoming a photographer? Like, was there a particular thing that you're like, well, maybe, whatever it is, what was holding you back?
So I didn't want to work full time on the thing that I was most passionate about. And that's actually why I'm a part-time professional photographer and why I work full time for Imagely. I love photography. My biological father was a photographer, a hobbyist photographer. My grandfather, his father, was a hobbyist photographer. And when I was originally a music major, and when I switched to photography, and my grandfather gave me both his camera and my biological father's camera, I fell in love with it. And even though I already had a camera with me wherever I went, I fell in love with it, and I knew that I could make money from it, and I knew that I was good at it. But I knew that just from knowing myself, that if I was doing that every day for the rest of my life, that I would wind up hating it. And I did not want to hate the thing that connects me to my biological father the most. So
that was the same thing for me. And I became a school teacher for a while. And then I realized even ruining my favorite hobby would be better than teaching school. But all jokes aside, but I was the same thing. I was completely with you on that one. Like, I was like, man, I really love this. I don't want this to become my job,
Yeah. So that was what was holding me back. And I don't regret it. I love my full-time job. It gives me the freedom to connect with photographers, to do things like what I'm doing right now with you, and to take on business when I want. Like right now, my wife and I are actually adopting our second child, and everything I can do to make more money in the part-time, professional photography business only helps us, with the adoption expenses. So
that's really neat.
That's really, really cool.
And it helps people to know. I think it's always good if you have a reason behind what you're doing. Obviously, I do it to support my family, but when they know that what they're doing is making a difference and helping you adopt someone, that's really special.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So do I get to ask the next question,
Yeah,
Matt?
go ahead.
Okay, Scott. So what is the best advice you've ever received?
So that would be practice makes permanent. It was said to me by one of my photography professors in college, and it has stuck with me ever since. I don't have to strive for perfection that doesn't really exist. Perfection doesn't exist. I have to strive for being fantastic, for being consistent, and at the same time to always be learning. So practice makes permanent. I about 6 months ago, I started karate, traditional Okinawan karate. And I did it because for a few reasons. One is I have to lose weight. And two, it's a good physical and mental challenge, but also way to get away from everything, right? When I'm doing my karate stuff, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking if my 3-year-old fell and got a boo-boo. I'm not thinking about it anymore, which is, kind of sad to say, but, at the same time, everybody needs that mental break. And one of the things that they say there is to practice to make permanent. And I thought that my photography professor made that up. And it turns out that
I've never heard it before.
it's being said by even my karate instructor. So, I use that in everything in life now. Photography, karate, whatever it is. Practice makes permanent.
That's awesome. I like that one a lot. Share one personal habit that contributes to your success.
Well, so I just mentioned I'm a karate student, so it's one of the many things that I take on every day. I like I said, I find it's a mental break as well as a physical challenge. I think that the mental breaks are essential to business, whether it's daily or a few times a week. I do 2 nights a week. I'm doing really heavy duty karate classes. Sometimes it's weekends. Sometimes I do, off days. I'll do lighter karate exercises and stuff like that on my own. But I think that whatever way you get a mental break is only going to enhance your business, your personal life, and everything.
So you're saying the thing that you do is take mental breaks, planned ways of getting away and thinking about something totally different than your regular life.
Yeah. And before I really pushed hard with my photography business, photography was my mental break. But it's so much ingrained in my day-to-day now that I still enjoy it, of course, but it's no longer my mental break as it used to be.
Yeah, no longer your outlet. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That totally does. Okay, so Scott, also we want to know what is it what is an internet resource, or where do you look on the internet to get great ideas?
I could share two. One's a shameless plug. One is my podcast. I love chatting with all my guests on my podcast about websites, business. Though the podcast is called the WordPress Photography Podcast. And even though it has the word WordPress in it, we do talk about Squarespace and other platforms as well. Basically, the podcast is about photography websites and using your website for your business. So it's a great resource for not only for me to learn from my guests, but for the listeners to learn. And it's now on Spotify. Woohoo! So, but at the same time, I actually think that one of my favorite resources are different Facebook groups that I'm in. One of which that Matt has mentioned, that is
the blogger.
Bloggers, business people in the industry. We learn from each other. But there's a lot of Facebook groups out there that are public, that aren't invite only. So find Facebook groups that are really talking about what you're interested in learning more about. Do a little vetting. Make sure it's not like, if it's literally open where you don't have to even fill out a one of those question things when you request to join, then it's probably not worth the effort. Like if there's 100,000 people in there and it's about a very specific topic, that's probably not the best Facebook group for you to learn from. But if it's like 1,000 people and the questions that were asked were good vetting, then it might be okay. So yeah.
And Scott, I think you do a really good job, like in the groups I'm in there with you, like not only adding value to the group, but asking super smart questions. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that drew me to you the most, is just like, this guy's really smart and he's also super helpful. So I think, when you're in a Facebook group, it's not all just taking as much as giving. And I think you do a good job.
Thank you. I think you do as well.
Thank you. Okay. What is there any books that you recommend, or any particular ones that you read early in your career that you'd like to share, or anything like
that? So this book is not on the newer side. The book that I'm going to recommend is one that's been out for a few years. Gary Vaynerchuck has actually written a bunch of business books. Gary Vaynerchuck is a guy that a lot of business people have a love-hate relationship with. They either love what he's talking about and love him in general, or they just really don't like his persona or what he does. Yeah, he's got a very, very, very unique personality. But one of my favorite books from I love all of his books on business. One of my favorites is Jab, 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 Right Hook. So that's the one I'm going to recommend. But I do want to say to check out the Ask Gary V book as well. It's a very light read, that one, because that's literally question answers. And just like his YouTube channel and his Facebook show and stuff is, people asked a question for the book and then he replied. And I'm happy to share that I'm the only photography question in the book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're in that book?
I'm in the book, and
oh my goodness, you're like kind of a big deal then.
But the funny thing is that his editors actually took all the context away from my question, so it actually looks like I don't know what I'm talking about, when really, like, I added a ton of context before the actual question, and they took it away, and the answer really didn't even answer that question because of how much the editors butchered the question. But
so I have a great story about this, Scott. Yeah. Okay, so I had an employee working here, and her and I loved the Ask Gary V show before he was doing like his daily V stuff. Yeah. When it was literally just Ask Gary V, and he would just answer questions that people tweeted in and stuff.
And it was less polished at that point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it was fun, and he was just he'd just ramble on, and I really liked that part of it. So we would submit questions all the time, and we never got one on his show. So kudos to you. But then separate than that, the girl that was working for me at the time, she had like this little side hustle job with her husband, and they did the posters inside of the bathrooms that you see like above the urinals and like in the toilet stalls, like where it has like 4 businesses on it. Mm-hmm.
That's their job, or they put advertising on one?
They put advertising on it. Okay. So they go find advertisers, build the graphic, and then slip the poster inside the little like protective thing, and kept it updated. And like you could, so you could have your business inside of a toilet stall, which I always thought was kind of funny. Yeah, so anyways, so her and her husband did that like on the weekends, and it was really good. So she asked a question one time about that, like what he thought about that business model. And of course, that's the question that he picks up. after all these months of us watching it and submitting photography questions, nothing. One urinal question, and he takes it and runs with it.
Oh, I'm sure.
but I guess the question is, was the question crappy? But
right, that's awesome. So, and but it was an opportunity for him to talk about how, 5 years before that, nobody would ever, well, even 2 years before that, no one would even look at their phone in a bathroom. And now that's like what you do when you're in a bathroom is look at your phone. It was interesting. So anyways, but so that's crappy for me.
So Scott, you're recommending the book Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuck.
Yep.
So
but I would say though, to still check out all of his books though, because they're all quick.
Oh yeah. My question for you on that book, because I have it as well, do you feel like it's still, like, what about it do you feel like is still applicable? Because I feel like it's, social media, which is what the book is about, changes so quickly that his like specific examples may not be as current as they could be.
That's true. But I think the overall premise of the book is jab, jab, jab is give, give, give. And then the right hook is to ask. So the same thing I do in my lead generation stuff is you're not just selling, you're giving, you're teaching, you're providing something of usefulness to the people that you're connecting with way before you're ever selling. And I think that's all the examples that he gives and sort of like the context behind them, I think are educational, even though they're outdated at this point. I mean, and again, every business book and every social media book, they're all going to be so outdated, a year after they're written because of how quickly everything changes. But
yes,
I think the ideas behind it are still highly relevant because they still work better than just selling.
Yeah. And the way he puts it is very, you can just understand it so easily.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
He does explain it very well.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, awesome. So let's wrap up there. Real quick before we leave, Scott, any parting advice or the best way to connect with you so people can look you up and get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I will say that growing your business through your website has never been easier. I created that lead generation course to help share my strategic system. And I'd like to offer the listeners of From Nothing to Profit 20% off the course. Just by using the code FNTP.
That's great.
And of course, you'll share my website's scottwyden.com, but I know you'll share the link in the show notes. So
awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Scott, I really appreciate you being on this podcast. I mean, you've been so awesome to me in the social media world for years. And so I really appreciate it. And I know you're doing a lot of really good work for photographers. And I mean, it means the world to me and Kaya that you were able to come on and share, and hopefully we can return the favor someday for you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'd be great to get you both on the show and on my podcast and connect in other ways. So yeah, it's been great. Thank you for having me. Yeah, Scott, I'm so glad you were on here. This was, we learned a lot. And I do think that the resources that you have will be so helpful to people because even if you know to do those things, I think when someone shows you exactly how to do it and step by step and you can actually implement it, that makes such a big difference. So thank you again. Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you all for listening to From Nothing to Profit with Matt Hoagland and Kaya Bondurant. We hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening to From Nothing to Profit, a photographer's podcast with Matt and Kaya. Be sure to subscribe for more business strategy and ideas to help you create the profitable and successful business you've always wanted. See you on the next episode of From Nothing to Profit.